Have you ever watched something you love slowly slip away and you couldn't stop it? Like autumn leaves falling from a tree you sat under every morning, or the sound of someone's voice fading from your daily life, a once familiar hand that doesn't reach for yours anymore. Have you ever stood in the middle of a silent room that used to be full of laughter and life and realized it's not coming back the way it was? You try to hold on. You tell yourself, maybe if I do something, say something, it won't have to change. But the truth is, it already has. And in that quiet moment, where everything feels like it's slipping through your fingers, you wonder, why does change something that happens to everyone hurt so much? If you've ever asked that question, you're not alone. You're human. And you're feeling what every heart feels in a world that's always moving. But here's something gentle, something ancient. The Buddha saw this. Not just the pain, but the path beyond it. He didn't say we could stop change. He said we could stop suffering. So if today your heart is aching, if you're tired of holding on to things already gone, if you're longing for peace in a world that won't stand still, let's begin. And maybe somewhere deep inside you already know this truth. You've seen it again and again, how everything changes, the way seasons shift, the way people grow close and then grow apart. The way joy arrives like a sunrise only to fade quietly like the evening sky. Still, even when we know this, we struggle. We resist. We try to freeze time to hold on to what's slipping away. It's not that we don't understand change. It's that we don't want to lose what we love. We want the moment to last, the good days, the connection, the familiar. But the truth is, life never asks our permission to change. It moves with or without our consent. And when it does, we often feel like something has been taken from us. Like when a relationship ends, even if it needed to, it still hurts. Or when a dream we held quietly in our chest begins to fade without warning. There's a quiet grief that settles in. Not loud, but steady, like background noise in an empty room. We ask ourselves, why is this so hard? Why does it feel like I'm falling apart just because things are different now? And maybe the deeper question is this: is it the change? Or is it our fear of letting go? The Buddha called this Anicca, the truth of impermanence. Everything that arises, passes. Everything we cling to eventually changes. Not because life is cruel, but because life is alive. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. That's what happens when we resist change. We suffer. Not because of what's changing, but because of how tightly we're holding on. And this is where the path begins. Not in stopping the waves, but in learning to float with them. There's a story the Buddha once told. He said, when touched with a feeling of pain, the ordinary person sorrows, grieves, and laments. But the wise one endures it mindfully. It wasn't about ignoring pain. It was about understanding its nature, that it too is passing, like clouds across the sky. So what do we do when everything feels like it's shifting beneath our feet? We pause, we breathe, we soften the grip. You don't need to fix the pain. You don't need to force a solution. You only need to allow what is here to be here. Next time sadness visits, don't shut the door. Sit with it. Offer it tea. Ask what it's here to teach you. Maybe it's reminding you of what you loved deeply. Maybe it's helping you see what you're ready to release. Sometimes healing isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet breath, a moment where you say, this too belongs. Let go not because you don't care, but because you're learning to care without attachment. The Buddha didn't teach us to escape life. He taught us to embrace it fully with eyes open, heart soft, hands free. Because when you stop clinging, you begin to dance with life, not against it. And in that dance, you'll notice something else. Every ending gives birth to a beginning. Every fall becomes fertile ground for something new. Just like the lotus, it blooms not in clear water, but in the mud, in darkness, in stillness, in surrender. What if this moment, as painful as it feels, is the soil where your next becoming begins? What if your broken heart is not a failure, but an opening? What if this change is grace in disguise? You are not falling apart. You are unfolding. Be gentle with yourself as you change. You are not who you were, and that's okay. Take a breath. Place your hand on your heart and say quietly, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still becoming. The storm doesn't last forever. The night gives way to dawn. And you are allowed to begin again. So if this message touched a quiet place in you, if something inside you whispered yes, this is what I needed to hear, then stay. You don't have to walk this path alone. Click subscribe. We'll be here in stillness, in presence, in breath. As the great river flows, so too does life, never the same, always becoming. Just breathe, let go, be here now. And maybe now you're thinking about all the little goodbyes that went unnoticed. The childhood friend you haven't spoken to in years. The way your parents once carried you. Now you're the one holding their hands, slowly, gently. We carry so many quiet endings in our bones. Sometimes it's the job that no longer fits. The city that once felt like home now feels unfamiliar. The version of yourself you once were, full of dreams, energy, hope, you wonder where they went. And it's not always tragic, but it is tender. There's a soft ache in realizing nothing stays. Nothing stays the same. You wake up one day and realize the laugh lines on your face are deeper. The music you used to love now makes you nostalgic. People are moving on. Time is moving forward. And it's easy to panic, to feel left behind, to feel like life is this endless stream and you're clinging to a branch while the river keeps rushing past. But the Buddha didn't ask us to swim against the current. He asked us to open our eyes and see the current as it is, not as the enemy, but as the nature of life itself. He said all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering, not as a cold idea, but as a liberating truth. Because if everything changes, then even our sorrow will too. Even this heaviness, even the emptiness you feel at night, it's not forever. Nothing is. And maybe that's not something to fear. Maybe that's where our freedom begins. You see, impermanence means that no pain is permanent. It also means no joy is guaranteed. But it invites us to live fully here, now, in this moment. When you eat, taste. When you hug someone, feel it fully. When you laugh, let your heart be light, because nothing lasts, and that's what makes it precious. Don't miss your life trying to hold it still. Sometimes we lose ourselves in trying to keep everything just right. We micromanage. We worry. We try to predict what's next. But the practice is not in control. It's in presence. Notice the way sunlight touches the floor, the sound of wind in the trees, the rising and falling of your breath, always changing, always here. Let that be your refuge. Start small. When you feel anxious, place your hand on your chest. Feel the warmth, the movement. Say softly, "This is a moment of change. And I am safe." You don't need to figure it all out. You only need to return to this inhale, this exhale, again and again and again. And when the world feels too loud, when your thoughts are racing, sit beside a window. Watch the sky. Even if it's cloudy, the sky is still there. Spacious, open, just like your awareness. Let it hold you. Let it remind you that you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they come and go. This is the invitation of Anicca, not to fear change, but to become friends with it, to see every ending not as a punishment, but as part of the rhythm. The tide goes out, and it comes back in. The flower blooms, then fades, then seeds again. Your life is not broken, it's just becoming. And there's beauty in becoming. There's beauty in standing in the ruins of who you once were and realizing you are still here. There's a certain grace in grieving well, in letting yourself feel it all without hardening. So cry if you need to. Sit in the silence. Let the tears come like rain. But know this, you are not lost. You are in the middle of a sacred turning. Trust that. Because one day, you will look back at this moment and see it was a doorway, a quiet beginning in the form of an ending. And until then, hold yourself gently. Speak kindly to your heart. Let the teachings of impermanence soften you, not to make you passive, but to make you wise. The wise ones don't cling. They bow, they breathe, they let go, and they bloom again. So let today be your practice, not of perfection, but of presence. Let today be enough, not because it's easy, but because it's real. And when you forget, as we all do, come back to this breath, the breath that knows how to return, the breath that's always changing and yet always here. You are not behind. You are right on time, with life, with change, with everything. Let's sit here a while. No rush to fix. No need to be more than you are. Just breathe, just be. And if right now you're holding something heavy, a memory, a name, a version of yourself that no longer fits, you don't need to let go all at once. Just loosen your grip. Let your fingers rest. Let your heart breathe. Healing doesn't come from pushing grief away. It comes from sitting beside it, like a friend, like a quiet witness. Sometimes you won't have the words. That's okay. Your breath is enough. Your presence is enough. Just like the trees don't rush the seasons, you don't have to rush this part of your journey. Let it unfold. Let the winds change your leaves. Let the rains soften your edges. Let the sunlight find you even through the cracks. You are still worthy even when you are not blooming, even when you are in the soil unseen. Because life isn't just what grows above the ground, it's also what deepens underneath. And in those dark, quiet places, that's where your roots are being made strong. So when the next version of you begins to rise, it will rise with depth, with wisdom, with compassion. You won't just understand impermanence, you will embody it. You will become the stillness inside the change. You will become the peace that doesn't need certainty. You will become the river, not the stone. And perhaps when someone else is struggling, you'll be the soft voice that says it's okay to change. It's okay to begin again. I've been there too. This is the gift of your pain. It turns into presence. It turns into love. So sit now with your hand on your chest. Feel the rise and fall. Feel the life in you. Feel the now alive, unfolding. Whisper to yourself, I don't need to be who I was. I'm allowed to change. I'm allowed to be new. And when the waves come again, because they will, you'll meet them differently, with less fear, with more grace. Not because they don't hurt, but because you know they will pass. And you will remain, not untouched but open, not hardened but whole. And that is enough. That is more than enough. So if this message reached you, if you felt something settle inside even for a moment, know this space is always here. You can return anytime. And if your heart longs for more of these moments, more stillness, more softness, more reminders of what's real, click subscribe. You're not subscribing to content. You're joining a space of presence, of healing, of quiet companionship. We'll be here in silence, in breath, in becoming. And as the Buddha once said, all things arise and pass away, but the awakened heart remains free. Breathe now, not to escape, but to arrive. Right here, right now, in the arms of change, because everything changes. and that's okay.